As a result of the coronavirus outbreak, many volunteering opportunities have fallen flat, hindering students from fulfilling their 100 hours of community service requirement here at the Jindal School of Management. On today's episode of the Parliament podcast, we'll be talking about how to meet virtually these requirements and how to give back to your communities still with all this craziness going on.
On this episode of the Parliament podcast.
JSOM community. It's Trent and Stefano here, joined with my co-hosts.
Troy Murray, your friendly neighborhood marketing major. And we're super excited for all of you to be joining us for our second episode today, as we have another wonderful, amazing guest joining us. She is a junior ITS major, currently involved in the JSOM community, and also is a very prominent leader and student leader in the Office of Student Volunteerism. Everybody, please welcome Bella Now. How's it going, Bella? How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me here today.
Of course, it's a pleasure. How's your semester been going so far?
It's been going well. I'm working from home and it's just been really nice getting to work alongside with my family. So it's nice to be bonding and having some quality time with my parents.
Exactly. Optimism is what I know you best for, Bella. So I'm super glad that you could join us today. So kind of going into our topic of discussion here today, before we get to the topic of student volunteerism, one of the key things that we ultimately wanted to bring up was what your life looked like before all this craziness happened. So I wanted to ask you, prior to the pandemic, what did your average day-to-day schedule look like? And how did JSOM typically influence it?
Yeah, man, that it happened. It felt like it happened so long ago, but I remember that JSOM really did influence it the more that you continued in college, right? So freshman year, I remembered I was taking core classes for JSOM, and my typical schedule, because I didn't have any morning classes, so I wake up in the morning, I do some work, I go to classes in the noon or afternoon time, and then after classes, I continue my work, or I did Deans Council or any other organizations I was involved with. And then I went to the gym to work out. And then at nighttime, I would do more work, finish up, or continue with those projects, right? But then sophomore year, it was like nighttime and afternoon, sometimes an evening, where I was doing a lot more heavy JSOM workload. So it continues to influence me even a lot more as you go down.
Exactly. I know I can only imagine that the project workload just gets more immense as the degree plan goes forward. So I totally understand that struggle. No, absolutely. And that's great. And then so I guess kind of tying into that specifically, how did the volunteering at the student volunteerism ultimately tie into your day-to-day schedule? Like, how did you manage to balance the two of them out?
Right. So one blessing I have being a part-time student leader at OSV is that they're very flexible with your schedule. I work about 6.5 hours a week, and we have a set number of hours. Like I'll come into the office maybe 3 hours on Wednesday, 2 hours on Thursday, or if I had an exam, I could switch my office hours around, right?
Right.
And that was also something that remained consistent my freshman and sophomore year. But they allowed me to just kind of diversify different causes that I could explore throughout my semesters.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I'm really glad that that ultimately helped to benefit your life in such a mutual way that not only helped you in the volunteering field, but also through business curriculum. That's definitely something very worthwhile. Trent, I'm genuinely curious as well. I'd like to get your take specifically on this. Have you ever had any direct influence with the Office of Student Volunteerism?
I have not yet. I've been meaning to. I've had a few other organizations I've had volunteer stuff with, but that's not going to cover the full 100 hours, that's required. And plus, it's just nice to get back to the community as well. So actually, this year I was actually looking to start going into it, but then the coronavirus hit and I had no idea what to do for it. So this is great to learn about right now that y'all have more virtual stuff going on, and it's very flexible with all the students as well.
Exactly. No, that's definitely fantastic. But also, the thing that interests me the most about you, Bella, and Trent, I think you could definitely you've attested to this before too. Your major is actually really interesting in how it kind of ties into everything, because you're involved in ITS, correct?
Yes, I am.
Exactly. So just kind of like going up along that, like what initially sparked your interest in your current major of ITS, and like how did JSOM help to create or continue that interest?
Yes, that's a very good question because, well, if you're asking about my initial interest, I actually changed my major 5 times my first semester freshman year. Yeah,
That's crazy.
But it was really confusing because in high school when I graduated, I came from a very engineering STEM background. And so when I went into college, I thought, oh, computer science seems to make sense because I am interested in technology. And so I enrolled as a comp sci major. And then I went to my dad. It was my dad who started my initial interest. He told me about how it was important to explore during college, right? A lot of people come in, they think what they want to do. Sometimes they do. And for me, I actually didn't. And my dad pointed out a good point, which is explore and then just try to make sure your education is holistic. Go out and try something different. I didn't have business in my background. So I went to computer science and I went to general business to entrepreneurship, to marketing, and then to IT.
Wow.
He blended people that I started to really appreciate more in the business side, and then the technology that I was interested in.
So would you say that you were rather influenced by the community as opposed to like the curriculum, or like what was the main like instigator that made you think, oh no, ITS is the field for me?
It was the people first, and then it was
fair. No, I totally understand. Communities definitely have a major influence, so I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
So Bella, what has been your most memorable experience at UTD so far, and what made it so memorable? Because I know you've been bouncing around from comp sci now into the Jindal School, which is I think is amazing. Because same boat as you. I was comp sci, but I was bio pre-med to start, and now I ended up in year 2.
So you guys have just seen the amazing sights of UT Dallas. I have just been in the JSOM committed through and through. So like I give mad respect for you guys for being able to like completely like change academic fields like that. That's fantastic. But yeah, no, Bella, by all means, what's been your most memorable experience at UTD so far?
Ooh, so okay, let me
Oh, we have a presentation. Okay.
Yes. Okay, wait. Okay. So this is my most memorable experience. I want to make sure there's not a glare. This is actually my first volunteering or major volunteering event called Alternative Spring Break. The OSV gives to any student, undergraduate, of all majors, undergraduate and graduate, I would say. And they take you out across the country, wherever you want to focus on an impact, and you volunteer for a whole week. I went back to Oklahoma and I got to build a house with these amazing volunteers, and I consider it my most memorable event just because that's where I started to build my passion for volunteering. I saw how much love there was, and that was something I wanted to stay within. But also, I did it as a freshman, and I got more comfortable with people. I met very amazing, generous people that inspired me to just continue volunteering. And building a house together for 1 week, like you see how there's like there's sort of some like a roof frame and then the walls at the beginning of the week, it was just, this wasn't up. It was just a base. So seeing that, how much we did together in a week, I realized that people can have a tremendous impact working together collectively. So
yeah. That's super cool. That's awesome. Like, how did the process of like building a house commence? Like, what all went into like creating the whole project?
Mm-hmm. And we certainly didn't do it alone, right? We worked with another community partner, Habitat for Humanity. So it was the group of students from UT Dallas, and then Habitat for Humanity, and then there was another group of volunteers called Caravanners, and these were also another major part of what made it memorable. These were people who were retired, and they dedicated their lives living in an RV, traveling across the nation, building houses. And so we really relied on their expertise. Like they taught us how to hammer. I actually learned how to hammer properly. Pull it down more. You'll have more torque or something when you hit the nails.
Nice.
The ones who guided us through the blueprints, told us where to put things to create the frame of the house.
That's so cool. Well, you can definitely put that skill on your resume. I'm pretty sure that'll make you stand out. You're just like, I know how to torque a nail and I know how to put it in place.
Yeah.
And not hit my
I'm not
finger while
even sure if I
doing
used
so.
it right, but it's true. Yeah.
Trey, what was that?
And not hit your finger, whoa, okay. And not hit your finger while doing so.
I know, man. I totally understand you. Hard construction work has definitely been a big thing. I know it's ultimately tied into a lot of stuff that I've actually done with like theater and everything as well. So like Bella talks about that, and she's just like, oh yeah, like no, like hammering a nail and everything is definitely a really great skill. I definitely would like love to learn something like that too, just because I've worked on like construction pieces and stuff like that for theater, like set pieces and things of that nature. So like that's definitely something that I would actually look forward to. So if students were wanting to get involved in like alternative spring break, like how would they go about that process? Is there like an info session, or is there like a pamphlet or something that they can ultimately learn more about the process to potentially apply for the upcoming semester?
Great question. We used to have pamphlets in our office, and now that everything's going virtually, we still do have info sessions. I do not know the info sessions dates from the top of my head, but it's coming. And if you go to our website, you can type in Google UTD volunteer, you'll find our website. There is this tab that says alternative spring break, and it's going to give you dates of our info sessions. So you can sign up. We can tell you more about our experiences, what you can expect, especially since this coming spring, it would probably most likely be remote.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then like just kind of going off of like that main point as well, how many volunteer hours can JSOM students expect to gain from like these type of processes? Does it kind of vary based off the projects that are kind of happening? Because I think based off of some of the informational sessions that I specifically went to, there were ones that were like as long as like I think 2 days, and then some that lasted like a whole week. So I was just kind of curious as to how the logistics have kind of changed ever since quarantine has taken effect.
Right. So I would say that the logistics are still getting hammered out. So I can't say exactly what to expect for spring break, but I know typically prior to the pandemic, every student who volunteers will get at least 50 community service hours. So, I mean, answering to the question about JSOM getting 100 community service hours to graduate, if you've chosen that path, you could realistically, theoretically, you could do 2 alternative spring breaks and then you're done. And
Right.
like let's say you did 2. So the first you're a volunteer, and if you come back a second time, you could try being what they call a site leader, which is kind of a step up from volunteer. You try to you're the one that's helping to coordinate people to continue with the plans with the community partner, like Habitat for Humanity. You'll get 60 community service.
Wow.
And more. Mm-hmm.
So talk about a one-stop shop for all your volunteer hours. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Perfect phrase to describe that.
Well, I'm actually like genuinely curious now. Trey, I'm pretty sure that you might be curious about this as well. How many volunteer hours have you amassed since coming to UT Dallas, Bella? I'm genuinely curious.
I don't even remember. I hit my 100 mark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when I hit my 100 hours mark, but it is because I volunteered a lot through OSB. And the thing is that throughout the alternative spring break, I will be automatically a site leader because I've worked through the office, and I don't get through those hours. Like I get volunteer hours, even though I'm putting in all that work. So that really helped me to get 100 hours already. And the other work that I do, like trying to lead donations or trying to find more virtual volunteering opportunities, those are all getting paid, and those are not what I get hours for. I also try to volunteer at my own time outside of the office so I can amass those hours as well. It's not just me getting it all.
Hey, no, listen, if you have the capability of just casually flexing with your volunteer hours, that's a great flex, honestly. No, that's fantastic. I'm really glad that you have those that amazing opportunity to be so involved, and it'll definitely help to kind of shine and highlight your capabilities of being selfless on your resume as well. So that's actually really fantastic.
Yeah, I do know that there is like an award where once you hit 200 hours, there's like a bronze tier, and then I think 300 like this. There's like a silver, then like a gold tier you can get from I think the state or something like that.
Yeah, I heard about it. I'm not even very familiar with it. I think what really comes down to people who are interested in getting that kind of recognition or that kind of award, there is a way for you to log your hours or track your hours so that when you have to log it somewhere, I know that in the past we used FOMO, and now there's going to be a new platform coming, and we don't know what
really?
it is yet. So we're still in the process of seeing where that goes. But really, ultimately, you try to track your hours somewhere. When you log it somewhere else, it'll tell you this is how many hours you get. And I believe there's this service honors, like you said, Trenton, where depending on the number of hours, you get this level of recognition. But I'm not sure, I'm not quite sure exactly where to find that information, but I believe if I can talk to a program coordinator about it or someone else who's more involved with the volunteering tracking hours, that they will know.
Well, this is certainly news to me. I had no idea that there was going to be a whole new platform that we were going to be marking volunteer hours on. That's actually really fantastic. You heard it here, folks. If you're interested in getting a chance to learn more about volunteer hours, by all means, there's going to be a release sometime in the future. So be on the lookout. Always looking for brand new things coming into the JSOM community. That's really cool.
Now, Bella, I have one quick question though. So we just talked about the whole alternative spring break. Excluding that, what has been your favorite experience you've had just volunteering, just through JSOM or even in your own personal experience?
Because you're also a part of DMHP as well, correct?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah, that was one of the organizations that actually made me feel more in love with JSOM. Everyone I met in DMHP was so giving, and similar to just being giving in their personality, they had a lot of volunteer opportunities, some that I actually helped coordinate, like Viva Volunteer. So I unfortunately wasn't able to ever volunteer with DMHP people because I was working on the back end. And it was it's something that I'm missing out, but it's something that makes me happy when, for example, I'm feeding people lunch, right? When they go through the line during Viva Volunteer, I get to see y'all. So it's still something that makes me really happy. But to your question, Trenton, about what is it? Excluding ASB, any other volunteering events that really made it memorable is one that I'm working on right now. Just because I know that virtual volunteering opportunities or volunteering opportunities in general are limited, I think that this is a great time to educate. A lot of people are spending time reading their books or just learning more about what's going on in the world because they're not out there, and that's something that really resonated with me. So I knew I was very interested in food insecurity as a topic because COVID-19 really has seen many people experiencing more insecurity there. So we started a book club at OSB, and it's the first time, it's the first time we've ever had a book club before. It's an idea we wanted to experiment and throw out just because we knew that there are people who wanted to learn more about the topic. And maybe it may be hard to go out there and, let's say, make sandwiches for people. Well, what about reading the people who are experiencing food insecurity? And then coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, maybe at a time where it's safer, having a better understanding of how to help those people in need. So
Definitely.
a memorable event, something that we just started recently.
No, absolutely. And also, while we're kind of on the topic of volunteering, Bella, I'm pretty sure that you're well aware of this, but Viva Volunteer is actually happening on October 24th, coming up very, very soon. Are you going to be, what's going to be your role ultimately in helping to influence the event and help to like encourage volunteering across UTD as a whole?
Mm-hmm. Good question. I don't think I can say it yet. I have my role assigned. And
okay.
I don't think I'm able to say it yet because I don't know if we want it to be a surprise or maybe my role might change to something different. So I don't want to put it out there so that people think that I'm the only person focused on this role. But there are many virtual volunteering opportunities we have lined up. We have community partners working with student organizations on creating a kind of project so that volunteers can sign up for. And we have the registration open today for Viva Volunteer.
Wow.
Yeah, so now any student, like in the past, we have student organizations sign up first because they're going to work with community partners, and we have our wave of volunteers. And now it's open, so people can get started to sign up and join us on October 24th.
That's super cool. Wow. If you haven't signed up already, by all means, go ahead and take advantage of this opportunity because Viva Volunteer has a lot of great opportunities to gain volunteer hours too, right? I think it varies just based off of like if you're going to do 1 hour as opposed to like 2 or 3. Like it also varies just based on what company or organization you're working with, correct?
I believe so. I know that the day is, okay, let me try to remember. It's about, I think it starts from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. So people can expect to have maybe, I want to say maybe 4 hours. And it really does depend on who is going to sign off on those hours. We will, as OSD, if you do it through our program, we'll sign it off. And you may also want to speak with your student organization that you volunteer with. Like what's their policy on that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fantastic and really great to hear. Kind of like tying into that whole event of like recency of being able to do volunteerism. Trent, I am genuinely curious with you too. What's like the most recent act of volunteerism that you've done ever since quarantine has kind of taken effect?
Well, that's the thing I've been struggling with right now, is just finding ways to, get in with volunteering, because I used to do something called Tango Tab, where you do go and make sandwiches for people who are struggling with food insecurities. And then going back to the Viva Volunteer, I'm not too familiar with it. I'm sure there's a few people out in our audience too. You mind just giving a brief synopsis of what Viva Volunteering is?
Sure, I don't mind. And I'll speak to this prior to the pandemic because that's what I'm familiar with. And it's our largest single day of service. I think it's the way I like to describe it, it's a way for anyone who, like you, may not be familiar with how to get started with volunteering or don't know where to start. This is the place because you're able to either go through a student organization, or you can just independently sign up for a project you're interested in to help our community partner in certain topics. Like I remember when I was a freshman, I wanted to learn more about sustainability. So I got put on this tree planting project. So do you know that in the residence halls, there's those trees when you go out the back door, there's these trees.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, on some of those residence halls, we planted I think it was a peach tree, or there's maybe another apricot tree. So that way, the idea is that, and then you can walk and pick a fruit and then go to class.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's just so sweet. And the thing is, so community partners doesn't have to be anything within the school. Like, we worked with Office of Sustainability to do that project, but then you can go out to a local DFW area. Like, I'm trying to think. Oh, I can't think of any on top of my head, but they're all local DFW agencies that are not too far away, and we'll have a bus to provide transportation for you to go out and volunteer just for in the morning, 8 a.m. to maybe 12 or 1 p.m. And then you can come back, have lunch, talk about what you've experienced, what you learned about helping this different communities and different community partners. And then you can go, and then you can choose to come back and volunteer and learn more with us, or you can do so on your own independently. Does that give a description for you, Trenton?
Yes. And also, we will be sure to link down the
description.
Description where you can find out more about Viva Volunteering.
Yeah.
Exactly, and there'll be an opportunity to go and sign up for that as well. But it's actually really funny that you brought up the whole idea of transportation, Bella, because I don't know how many times that I've done volunteering work through the JSN Management Honors Program, and we went to go and take part in volunteering events, and there was just massive chaos that would happen when we were trying to figure out like carpooling situations. It was always a fun time, to say the least, just because like people would always be like messaging like casually on GroupMe's going like, hey, I need a ride, or like people would like sign up for these volunteering opportunities without having a method of transportation actually to the events.
I remember, I have a whole other story about that. We can go in it now.
Please do tell. No, please do tell.
I did remember, like, one of the reasons that my other reasons why I got volunteer hours, because I volunteered outside of OSV, and it was one time through DMHP where they were going to go to the Arboretum for, again, learning more about sustainability. So
right.
Signed up, and I knew that I had someone need to provide transportation. I had a car at the time, so I said, okay. I emailed in the box or in the inbox. I said, okay, I have transportation. You're free to text me. Let me know if you want me to pick you up, and we can go together. We went together, and it was pouring, raining, and
no.
I'm not from the Dallas area. I didn't realize there was this much traffic. I didn't realize how bad it rained here, so I was just toughing up, and I was driving through the rain, and then we got a ping like 5 minutes before we were at that location, like, oh, it's raining so hard, we're canceling the event. So I had to go back to the campus in this pouring rain, and it was awful because it was raining so hard, we couldn't even see where we were going when I got out of the car. It's already parked, but then just walking to the residence halls, we were drenched. And I still never got a chance to volunteer with DMHP. We still got our hours because we made the
effort was there.
Yeah, the effort was there. So we got our hours in the end. It was so close that I could have had it, right?
Yeah, it's days like those you just forget your emergency poncho, and it's just like, man, like if only I just casually put my emergency poncho in my pocket, like this totally would have been solved by then. But it's actually really funny that you mentioned like the whole element of rain too, Bella, because one of the most influential volunteering opportunities that I think I've actually gotten a chance to experience was through DMHP, and we did a couple of joint partnerships with Groundwork. I don't know if you know Groundwork, but they're like economically conscious, not economic, environmentally conscious in the sense that they're trying to help like clean up like trenches and like local like parks and recreational facilities to try and take care of that. Actually, one of the most notorious photos that I think I've ever taken in terms of like photo shoots and stuff like that, you probably ended up seeing it on the DMHP Instagram page, but it was this one where we were I was assigned to this committee where we were taking logs out from the middle of pathways, and we were like trying to like put them on a truck, and then they would be all put into one big pile, and then they would be like dealt with accordingly. So we were cleaning up these logs that like had drifted down a hill like onto the hiking trails, and we were casually picking all those up, and there was this giant looking tree branch that was like, it looked like a catfish almost, like it had like this little spiky head and everything, and I was like, Whoa. And so I think it was Christina or Brittany that was with us while we were doing these projects, and they saw me just holding this and they were like, smile for the camera. And I just casually end up posing like this towards the camera as if I just caught like a massive salmon or something. And that's just like been one of the most notorious photo quality pictures that I've gotten since being a part of programs at UTD. So the fact that you brought up the whole rain element, I'm like, oh, because that was the whole reason how I actually have one of my prime photo shoots that I could potentially use if I were to do theater or acting shoots or rehearsals or tryouts or anything like that. But I just thought that was a fun little thing to mention of that sort as well.
Oh, definitely. I will be sure to look for that photo now after this.
She's gonna go binge watching on the Instagram page, just casually trying to find
catch
it.
up with the UHP.
For sure. No, that's awesome. And then aside from like the Office of Student Volunteerism and everything, right? I guess we could kind of talk more about like JSOM's resources and things that you've been able to kind of take advantage of since arriving on campus. Is there anything notorious or that comes to the top of the mind in terms of JSOM resources that you use on a day-to-day basis?
Yes, and okay, so this one is it's not a lab, it's not like a place you go, but in general, the best resources in JSOM are the people.
Right.
We can all agree with that. I will say, like, one of the best advice that I've received was from a friend who he received it from someone else, and it was his best advice. So I want to share with everybody is to find a mentor you want to be where they are in, let's say, a year. So let's say I'm a freshman and I want to be more involved with Dean's Council, for example.
Exactly.
I'm going to find someone in Dean's Council, and I'm going to try to ask you more about what you've experienced, ask more about how I can get involved, so that when I apply, I have an understanding of where I want to be, and I would most likely get it because I have that mentorship. So now you're a sophomore, and let's say you want to apply for this job at, give me a company. What's
Amazon? Why not?
Amazon. So let's say you want to go to Amazon in the next year. So then you find someone who works at Amazon, a UTD graduate, or maybe friends of your friends, mutual friends, and then you talk to them about what it's like going at Amazon. Then you apply for Amazon, and then most likely when you have these connections and you have an understanding of what Amazon wants, you have a good chance of getting that kind of position. So it's always the best resources in JSOM. It's always finding someone who you want to be in 1 year, in 2 years, or 3 years. So that's my biggest advice. But in terms of labs, I want to say JSOM Resources does a good job highlighting these labs. One that I can talk about is the accounting lab. Right. I struggled with financial accounting. And at first I thought, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people just lined up for these tutoring labs, but it's not quite simple. Signing up or just walking in, sometimes there's a lot more tutors in the lab that will be able to answer questions so long as you have your questions ready. And right. you got these questions answered, and then you can just leave whenever you got it immediately. And these tutors really do know what they're talking about. So I really appreciate that they're there to answer any questions, and I'm able to just leave and continue on with my day. So that's a good resource too.
No, that's fantastic. And that whole the element that you were talking about earlier about like finding that mentor was, I think, a very crucial life lesson that I feel like a lot of people could ultimately take advantage of. Has there been any recent instances of you demonstrating that kind of behavior, or has it like kind of tied into your elements of networking or being able to find a current position in your major?
Yeah, I guess it is tied to the element of networking, and it's something that I didn't know I was doing. But I was doing it during freshman year, right? When I feel like everyone does it in freshman year, where they either go, this is not JSOM related, but the freshman mentor program, or for us it's DMHP. And for anyone else, it's just finding someone to learn more about what do you do as a freshman. It could be something like, what classes should I enroll in to start out this year, right? So everyone does it in their freshman year. But then I think what some people I guess it's kind of hard for them to think about what they want to do, so they don't know how to ask people for help. And the simplest way that I found, just because I received this advice early, was finding someone who you just inspire to become that person in the future, and then reach out. Like you can do a LinkedIn message if that's your channel, or you could even I guess in the past, if you were able to meet with each other on campus, you can send them an email and just try to meet them through a mutual friend and just talk with them about why did you choose this path? And then maybe you can relate to it. Maybe you can decide that's your path, and then you click and you have then you have someone in your network that is going to support you. It's going to be in your corner. It's going to help you try to get there as well. So that's just, that's something that I encourage everyone to look into as early as they can. And you have the time to do it now. You do.
Plenty of time to do it now, for sure. Trent, have you gotten a chance to like do any networking opportunities since everything's kind of gone remotely? Have you taken use of like LinkedIn or anything of that nature?
So for me, I've done a lot of networking just through my work and slash internship right now, and then also through LinkedIn. That's probably been the easiest resources to meet people on, because people you really want to network with who are, I'd say like mentor material would be on LinkedIn, especially, you know, it's hard to just meet professors in person and just staff at the school right now, just because everything's all over the place and going crazy.
Right.
And I have found too that a lot of people think a lot of people are going for mentors, and a lot of people actually aren't. And they actually love when they have like a younger person just pick their brain about like different things, especially that are like very integrated with what they either studied or are working with right now. So yeah, mentors are a great resource. So I definitely recommend getting at least one. And also, you don't have to limit yourself just to one mentor too. You can find many as you really want, just because they love to help the younger generation and just see people be successful, just because they just want to have someone to talk to as well. Just isolation, they're not seeing coworkers like they used to. They're not like, teachers aren't seeing students like as they used to, like in person, just talking all the time. So mentors would be an amazing resource to go after right now.
Well, it's also like really funny that you guys bring up the idea of mentoring, because I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but just recently, I think especially towards the beginning of the semester, I was getting a whole bunch of emails, just, you know, like being flooded into my inbox. And some of the ones that I came across specifically for UTD's email was a lot of the different majors, a lot of the different department coordinators actually reaching out saying, hey, we're trying to establish these mentor-mentee relationships. I know that's how it was for marketing specifically. Julie Hayworth, who is the director for marketing, like sent out this message saying that she was trying to create this image where the sophomores and the freshmen would be linked up with juniors and seniors in order to like have any questions answered about like potential internships or joint partnerships or just getting involved on campus. Have you guys seen anything like that?
I remember seeing it I didn't see it from an IT perspective, but I remember it as a freshman, a wee little freshman, and a sophomore.
Oh, we.
Yeah, but I remember there were people like Julie Hayworth or someone who was telling me more about, consider joining the freshman mentor program, which I did as a mentee. And other people were saying, become a mentor, like in DMHP, Brittany or Christina reached out to becoming a mentor. And I really do think that you could be a mentee and a mentor at the same time. Like, I feel like you can have a way where you know enough to give back, or you don't know enough. So you can admit to learning more from someone else. So it's anywhere. You can find mentors anywhere. You're not limited to one, like Trent said, and it can even be your professors, who I'm sure would most likely appreciate students calling in and just talking with them as well. So they're all over, they're all around. You just need to reach out.
Exactly. No, I totally understand where you're coming from with that. And especially with everything going, because I think it's ultimately just a great tool for you to kind of utilize in the sense of like being able to like attest for things that you know and be able to like help give back and preach up to that point. But you're always still learning. There's always still an element of like taking in and like having an experience that allows you to have an overall impact on your beliefs or your values or anything of that nature. So you're always growing. That's the funny thing, is that people often, whenever they get to like that high point in college, they're just like, I got everything I need to know, man. Like, I'm all good to go. And it's the moment that they join the job field that they're like, whoa, this is different. It's like the shift from high school to college too. Everyone's just like, whoa, this is different.
It's like,
it's just completely just like a whole new change of pace. But yeah, no, the whole idea of like changing atmospheres and everything is definitely something that is most notable, especially across different communities. So I know exactly what you mean by that point. And kind of also, I guess, going into this, we've been talking a lot about the idea of the pandemic influencing our day-to-day lives in the sense of like how our daily routines have been and things of that nature. But I guess like Trey and I think are like genuinely curious when we say like, where are you currently at right now, Bella? Like, are you taking classes in person? Are you doing them all virtually? What's the type of format that you've selected for yourself?
Yeah, so as you can see, I'm working from home. This is my home in Oklahoma with my family. So I'm taking them all remotely. And where I am right now, because of the pandemic, I'm fortunate to say that I'm in a good place. I'm with my family. They're safe, and I feel like they've really been helping me stay grounded and secure, I guess, because I think for a lot of people throughout this time, it's either like I'm blessed and I'm safe, and for other people, it's hard.
Right.
And for what I can say, what I go through right now is that I find more silence, and something that I didn't really quite have. Whenever you're in college in general, I think that you have so much that you want to do. There's so many people you want to talk with, or there's a lot of work that you need to turn in because of a due date. And I think that creates a lot of noise. And I think that maybe some people don't really know what they want to do because there's other things that you need to get done. And by taking this time now for me, working remotely and being with my family, I find more time to be quiet and just listen to my own thoughts about and reflecting just where do I want to go? Like, sure, I'm taking courses and sure, I want a high GPA, but ultimately, is this high GPA going to do enough about what I want to do in the future? And volunteering, oh, I love volunteering, but how do I see myself continuing this in the long term? And these are questions I can start thinking about finding answers to because it's quiet here. And I have my family to sort of guide me because they know me best. So they can help me figure out what I want to do. And for people who may not have that kind of experience right now, I think that whole mentorship, reaching out, and the element of network is even more of a reason why you can make a connection with someone and why you should make a connection with someone, because there's always going to be someone who needs your help.
Exactly. No, well spoken indeed. The whole idea of being able to like reassess your values is definitely something that a lot of people, I'm pretty sure, are doing like during this time as well, just because of the idea of I'm really sure, like, for example, Trent's still on campus, like still going, like taking classes in person and everything. But I totally understand your struggle going on, Bella, in the sense that like I'm also calling in from Las Vegas right now, so we have like a whole statewide conference going on right now. I'm realizing that we're calling in from all different types of places of the United States right now. That's fantastic, though. Trey, I guess, do you have any reassessments that you've had since the beginning of the pandemic?
Well, it's definitely been a lot more quiet, like Bella said. So I've been able to just think more and reflect more about studies, work experience, now volunteerism, which kind of slipped a bit for me, but is now brought back into the spotlight. So that's been the main things I've sort of noticed. So going back to maybe the volunteer office, how has the volunteer office impacted you, and how does it impact the lives of current students?
So that's a very good segue, because I'm also blessed that I'm able to work remotely through the Office of Volunteerism, just having flexible hours, communicating through Teams. And it does tie into what I want to do for long term, which is continue service. Like my most memorable event, right, was alternative spring break and building a house for a week. And I didn't want it to stop there because I felt like that's not enough. I guess it's never enough, but it's something that I have the energy and that kind of love to continue doing for the rest of my life, because I see how much people care. And it's not a world where you just have love and care and then you get to live in it. It's a world where people choose to love and choose to care, and we have that privilege to continue living in it. And that's something that I want to keep with that culture and pay it forward. So I feel like that's exactly how OSV, I call it OSV, it's Office of Volunteerism. I think that's how OSV can impact students. It doesn't matter if you're coming in for sole sake of credits, or you're coming because you don't really know where to start, or you're coming in and you know where you want to start, but you want to dive in deeper. Whatever level you're at, OSV really does help you get more involved in the growth that you want to see. We will continue offering these services to anybody, no matter what. And if you're like me, where you really want to make it more personal and something a part of your life to make it more fulfilling, yeah, OSV is there for you, and we will always be providing those opportunities for anyone.
Very well spoken again, indeed. That's actually really fantastic as well. And then also kind of just going into that whole element of like in ways that students can get involved in like acts of volunteering remotely, and like being able to help like donate to these amazing causes and these organizations. I know that like Trey and I had recently discussed that we were looking for particular fields of being able to go ahead and volunteer in. Trey, do you want to get us started with like some of the first topics that we were looking for in terms of elements to go and donate to?
So one I was thinking about was be perfect, especially with the pandemic going on, is nature pickup and just cleaning up nature because that's outside and socially distant. That could actually be something where students could meet in person. So what's your experiences with that or even virtual components to that as well?
So I'm glad that you brought that up. I have heard people who, from a safe social distance, they will go out in their own community and find a place to just clean up the land, pick up the litter. And you can even do this. You don't have to do this as a group if you're not comfortable. Do the social distancing, right? This is something you can do at your own time and in your own space. Something that I was exposed to is called BioBlitz, and this is a partnership OSV does with the Office of Sustainability, and it's actually it's an app where you go out and you take pictures of plants or butterfly or insects, any flora and fauna, and you upload these images to the app, and it helps scientists try to identify native species in your environment. So there is a cause to help the research and benefit the research community, and it's okay, so it's something you can download and start joining in our UTD virtual BioBlitz project. And we have this, it's a week, October 5th to October 11th, where you could actually sign in and join us on this project, go outside, start taking these pictures with a group of friends in a safe social distance or on your own, and all benefit the research community and scientific community there for nature.
That's super awesome. And then for those people that are like looking to donate at like places, say for example, food shelters or things of that nature, is there any resources that come to mind to you specifically when it comes to giving back to those causes?
I think it really does depend. Like for example, you Troy, I can't say that there's this Dallas food shelter and we can go donate because I live in Nevada and I live in Oklahoma.
Yeah,
so,
that's fair.
Yeah, so it's going to be like if you choose to donate, I think it's really effective because there are a lot of people who are experiencing food insecurity, especially during COVID-19. And the best way to do it is through donation. So I would, if you are in the DFW, Richardson, Dallas area, there is a flyer that we post. We posted in September on the OSB Instagram and on the OSB Facebook, where we recommend agencies for you to donate food. The other major food beneficiary at UT Dallas is Comic Cupboard, if you're able to donate food items there as well. But for people who are living in Nevada and Oklahoma like us,
right,
we have to be doing our research. I guess, honestly, you could just go to Google, type in food pantry near me, and then find a place to donate to. That's the best.
No, absolutely. And you kind of like talking about that main point as well. I definitely have done my thorough amount of research and like trying to figure out local opportunities in my community, especially with Halloween coming out, coming around and everything of that nature. I actually have just recently signed up to take part in this event called the Harvest Festival, which is relative to Las Vegas actually. And it's basically a place where people are actually going to be able to celebrate the idea of fall in a socially distanced type of manner. And we're going to be serving as like concessions managers and like ticket salesmen and stuff like that. And it's going to be a little tiny place where people are going to be able to go like ride horses and like go and like play carnival games from like a social distance, just kind of help to resume some type of normalcy. So I've definitely been looking into like volunteering at those. I've signed up for like 12-hour shifts in the upcoming weeks. So I'm like really excited for that just because I realize I've been not as prominent in the volunteering community. So it's definitely something that I'm really looking forward to, especially to get into the spooky vibe.
Yeah, what's the more like spooky vibe and getting in the spirit of giving? Right?
Exactly. There you go. Puns. I am a pun man. I definitely appreciate that. Snaps all around. For sure. And then Trey, I think you had one more like key field of volunteering that you wanted to ask Bella about too, correct?
So mine was, I guess, kind of piggybacking off of yours was just donating in general. Like, what causes, like, I know we just talked about food insecurities, but what other places are good to donate to? Because I know, even if you can't, go out and physically volunteer right now, it's just good to help the community in general. So what other different, maybe that has to go back to the nature thing, maybe with just helping people with disabilities?
That's a very good question. I think that beyond food, there are so many other items that people really do need because COVID-19 doesn't just give you food insecurity, but they can give you insecurity in all places. So at the very beginning, for example, there's people who rely on schools to provide supplies, and you don't have that access with your working remotely. For many people, many children, they're going to need these school supplies, and you could, if you have enough or utensils, extra utensils you don't really need, you could donate to these children who may need it. There may be a center where you can donate this to and just give back to anyone who goes to this center so they can get these school supplies. There's also clothing items. I know that there are, I heard there were people who, because they're medical workers, they're frontline workers, they can't return home in the same clothes they wear because of that exposure. And they may need these clothes, like these extra clothes where they can come home safe to their family. And that's another area where you can donate clothing items, which I know people who love cleaning out their wardrobe because they're at home now and they just want to tidy up their room. That's another great way to clean and donate it to a really good cause. And for disability and services, that's something that I know you mentioned and that I can't quite speak to because I don't have that familiarity. But another good part about OSV is we're a team. So it's not just me. There's leaders everywhere. Like there's other leaders in our office and they have experience with disability and services as a need and they can tell you more about it. So all you have to do is just reach out to our office. I didn't mention it, but you can email us at volunteer@utdallas.edu. Or you can just follow us on Instagram and Facebook and we'll answer your questions.
Fantastic. We'll also be sure to include those outlets to reach out to the Office of Student Volunteerism in the descriptions below if you guys are interested in getting a chance to take a look at those. But as we're kind of coming to a close here on our podcast time frame, Bella, I am just kind of genuinely curious because here at the Wise Words Committee, we are ultimately trying to help spread a positive message that's ultimately going to accumulate at the very end to kind of help give upcoming students, faculty, staff, and alumni a gist of how they can ultimately prosper in a business environment and ultimately be able to kind of help take advantage of a lot of the resources that are available to the UT Dallas community. In that kind of sense, what are some wise words that you can offer to everyone that's watching at home?
Oh yeah. Wow, I feel like there's so many words and wise words to offer for anyone, right? I actually think that, the staff, the faculty, and the alumni are people who should be giving me their wise because I guess I could say thank you. Because I think these were the people who really stepped up to help be more available in their time to help students like me who may need more guidance, especially now with COVID-19. So I just want to give kudos and a lot of gratitude to those people and to keep doing what you do. We really do need you and we're glad to have you with us. And for the students who are just starting college in such a weird time with COVID-19, I guess I have a few words. I would say don't give up and find the silence. I think it's really, I think it could be very easy for people to sort of be, not aligned with what they want to do or very lost because they don't have these same resources like prior to the pandemic. And my advice is to not give up in making those opportunities. Sometimes those opportunities aren't there for you to take, so you make it. So don't give up on it. And a way for you to figure out what opportunities to make, find the silence, because now you can find a time, or if not, find a space to be quiet and think about what you really want in 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and then make that opportunity and work towards it.
Absolutely. Career goals are definitely important. That's definitely some amazing wise words, Bella.
We just want to say thank you for coming on the show, Bella. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And thank you all so much for watching at home. For those of you that are part of the JSOM community, we are hoping that you are staying safe, that you are staying healthy, and that you ultimately are helping to stay prosperous during these moments of turmoil, because that's ultimately what helps us to make us stronger as comets going forward. If you are interested in getting a chance to learn more about the Office of Student Volunteerism or get a chance to link with Bella, we'll be providing links to the descriptions below, and you'll be able to go ahead and take a look at that even further. But with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you are staying safe, staying healthy, and staying wise. Until next time, we'll see you all soon, Comets.